Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm Isabel, and today I'm going to take you on this exciting journey to show you how to use a social listening tool to manage crisis for your brand. So, the goal here today is to practically demonstrate how you can use these tools to quickly identify, and I think the most important, to understand how to manage crisis for your brand. So, first of all, I will start with a bit of theory, and then we will open up the chat for questions and discussions. Okay? And about a week after the webinar, we will send you the video recording and our playbook on crisis management via email. So stick with us till the end. So today we are going to cover some really cool topics, and I would like to go through a short overview to talk about the main topics we are going to discuss today. So first one, and I think the most obvious, is the importance of effective monitoring to quickly identify crisis, okay? Because in this crazy digital world, crisis can arise at any time. So the key to efficient crisis management is the early detection. So by actively monitoring the mentions, the posts, the comments of my brand, I can spot the red flags before they escalate. That's the idea. So this could range from I don't know, a growing negative complaint to rumors or specific issues like product failures, for example. So effective monitoring helps us to respond quickly, to make more informed decisions, and of course to avoid letting a situation get out of the hand. So that's the main topic we are going to discuss today. And I think the second one, I'm going to show you how to use the most traditional tools, the most famous tools in YouScan for this crisis analysis. But I will also share some personal tips on tools that I almost nobody uses, but I absolutely love and I find super useful for this kind of analysis. So you might have never thought of using them, but I'm going to prove how they can be useful for you, how they can make all the difference during this crisis management analysis. And the last topic, and I think one of the main ones, is how to set up alerts or reports so we never miss something important. I think this is essential because this is not only to keep everything organized in the specific KPIs in your reports, but also to avoid wasting too much time sifting through analyst data looking for relevant insights. So monitoring can be exhausting, guys, and finding ways to automate this process is essential for crisis management. So that's what we are going to review today. So, all right, let's start with the basics. I just wanted to make a test to check that everybody can hear me well. So I'm going to make a question straight to you, and I want you to show some reaction or send an emoji or a message in our chat. I want to know who here has ever experienced a situation where a negative mention is not valid and turn it into, I don't know, a full-blown crisis for the brand. Raise your hand, send me some emoji, show me that you're alive so I can be sure that you can hear me well. Okay, many reactions, which means everybody. Everybody had problems with crisis before. And if you haven't, don't worry, because you probably will. But for sure, you are preparing to avoid that from happening. So the challenge here is that online crises aren't always obvious from that get-go, right? So sometimes you only realize there's a problem when it's already grown out of control. So that's the idea of this meeting today. And that's where YouScan comes in, because with social listening, we can identify those negative mentions and reactions in real time. We can segment this conversation. We can filter what is most relevant for us. And I think the most important, we can act quickly. We can act fast. So today I'm going to talk about a giant in the automotive industry. You already may know it's Tesla. And the idea isn't to monitor political mentions or recent controversies surrounding Elon Musk, although I love gossipy, and that's why I enjoy working with social listening because I am the gossip girl. Today, we will focus more on the commercial side of the brand and how small crises related to the products themselves can be affecting the brand. So, I believe most of you are familiar with how to create topics. Just let me show you the YouScan platform, and you can see all mentions that we have been collecting about Tesla. I believe most of you are familiar with how to create topics, But in case you are not, just a reminder that we offer a free course with certification available on our platform that teaches you how to create topics from scratch and all the technical parts from our platforms available in this course. So in this icon on the right corner close to your name, you can click here and you can access our academy online with our free courses to understand how the collections of topics work. Okay, I'm not going to focus too much on this today because if you want, you can ask in our support or reach out to your account manager. The idea here is after I have my project set up, after I have all posts and comments and shares that I need from Tesla, what is the first step? What are the steps I should follow to understand what is a potential crisis and what is a crisis in my topic? That's the idea today. So I already have set up a topic using a bunch of keywords and operators to bring not only mentions collected by text, which means when people talk about Tesla on a post by text, or when people mention the logo of the Tesla in a photo or in a video. Okay, so that's the idea here. I have set up this topic to bring all these mentions. And what is the first step? What would I do here if I was the one monitoring Tesla, if Tesla is my brand, and I wanted to understand if there are any potential crises or any crisis related to my data? First thing I would do is segmentate this data. I would do a segmentation for deeper analysis. Okay, why segmentation of this data is so crucial? So we are here monitoring Tesla, right? Imagine that you are analyzing everything together. So all the mentions about Tesla, that data might get a bit, how can I say that, messy, because Tesla has multiple topics surrounding the brand. So political topics, car models. People can be talking about specific car models. So Tesla has multiple car models: the Cybertruck, the Model 3, the Model S, and each one has different characteristics and audiences. So if we don't segment this data, we end up mixing everything together and might miss a crisis that's forming around a specific car model, for example. So segmenting data is a powerful strategy when you're doing this crisis management, because when you want to analyze crises more accurately, like in this example, like Tesla, we shouldn't analyze the brand as a whole, but rather breaking down these posts and comments and shared posts in categories. So this helps us identify which model, for example, which car model is generating more concerns or negative mentions. It's whether due design issues or product failures or safety concerns or other factors. So by segmenting, we can spot specific patterns inside our topic, inside our brand, that help us take a targeted action and treating each car model as a unique case rather than just one big crisis for the brand. So that's the idea. And how am I segmenting this data here in YouScan? I use tags. So here in this bottom, we can check tags that I have created to segment this data. So I'm not only monitoring mentions that are related to Tesla, I am segmenting this data by tags. So I can explore, I can zoom in this data and I can understand where are these crises coming from in my topic. That's the idea of using tags. I use tags for everything, guys. I think it's the one of the most important tools that we have in YouScan platform. Sometimes the client asks me, Belle, what should we do? Tags. Use tags. That's it. Because with tags, we can zoom in this data and we can identify potential crises in a better way. That's the idea of using these tags. Okay. So let's check here. When I go to general, when I go to tags, I can have this distribution of this data. I can see which models people are talking the most, if there are any peaks. I can see the distribution of sentiment between each model. So I can see there are a huge negative amount of mentions for Cybertruck model. This is something to analyze. I can understand, for example, what are the most popular sources for any specific car model. So, okay, I understand that people are talking a lot about Cybertruck in the last 30 days, but where are these mentions coming from? I can go to filters, tags, I can filter only mentions related to Cybertruck, and I can have this distribution. I can see that the most popular sources talking about Cybertruck in the last 30 days are coming from these sources here. And I can have the search distribution by sentiment, which is very interesting also. Então, you see, now I'm not monitoring all mentions related to Tesla. I am segmenting this data, and I am understanding where are these complaints coming from. How many complaints do I have by a specific car model? That's the idea of segmenting using tags, okay? What else we can do here? Well, I want to go even deeper. I want to understand, I don't know, what are the biggest complaints about Cybertruck model? I understand that they have a lot of negative mentions, okay, but what is this negative mentions about? What are you talking about? So we can use this tool here, the conversation insights, which is one of my favorite tools here in YouScan. We can still keep filtering by tags. So here in filters, tags, we can filter by Cybertruck. And we can use this tab here as facts to understand what are the main aspects that people complain about Cybertruck model. Okay, we can change the graph here and we can personalize this aspect. For example, customer service, price, design, quality, performance, functionality, shelf life, usability. And we can have this distribution. So from all negative mentions from Cybertruck, most of them are coming from the quality of these products. You see that? I am going deeper on this data till I understand where this is coming from. So I understand that the biggest complaints about Cybertruck are coming from the quality of this car model. Okay? But I wanted to understand even deeper. I want you to understand what are the main conversations surrounding the quality of Cybertruck models. I can go to filters, I can go to aspects, I can filter only the negative quality mentions about Cybertruck. And still, here in the conversation insights, we have this tab, which call it subjects. And with the subjects, we can monitor the main conversations, the conversation clusters around the negative quality of Cybertruck models. And we can zoom in this data and we can have this distribution. What are the main conversations? So poor quality, trash can, quality metrics, exterior panel. That's a very interesting insight because I don't know if you know this, but due to a manufacturing issue, all the Cybertrucks that had already been produced, around like 46,000 cars, had to be recalled. And all their customers were refunded. And this is because there is a risk of the car's panel falling off while you're driving. So that's the crisis related to Cybertruck. Due to a manufacturing issue, people increase the dimensions about the negative quality related to uh, um, the falling of the panel of this car model in a specific. So you see how I'm segmenting this data and how it's easier to find interesting insights, even if it's negative or not, even if it's a potential crisis or not, because I am zooming in this data. So I'm not analyzing only Tesla. I am analyzing Tesla. I am analyzing Cybertruck model. I am analyzing the main sources and the sentiment distribution between a car model in specific. Also, where are these complaints coming from? I am analyzing what are these complaints about, and I am analyzing what are the main conversations around this main complaint. So that's much easier to identify if there are possible crises. Which other tool we can use here to detect potential crisis? We have this tool here in the platform that detect potential crisis conversations surrounding conversations. And with these filters that I applied, I can identify where these potential crises are coming from when talking about the negative quality of our Cybertruck. That's a very interesting tool. So for example, when it's related to incident, I can click on incident and the platform is going to show me what are these mentions? And inside Copilot is going to do a summary of these mentions, so I don't have to read it. I did one, I think my second favorite to YouScan platform is inside Copilot because you can use to make analysis without having to reading all of them. Inside Copilot already does a summary of all these mentions for us. So a significant recall has been issued for nearly all Cybertrucks due to the use of incorrect blue, which poses safety risks as panels may detach while in motion. Okay, so the platform is able to detect. Here we can filter by, for example, the oldest mentions. So in 25 of February, 10 days before this crisis, explodes and pop up on social medias, people were already talking about this, about the panels falling off. You can see this based on the oldest mentions here on the topic. What else we can analyze to identify a crisis? I think this one will be very interesting. Here in general, when you go to the tags distribution, we can see the volume distribution between these mentions, and we can understand if there are any peaks specifics. Here, of course, it's the crisis, the main crisis. Now it's falling down after the refund announcement. But here we have the main crisis. And here you see that the mentions seem to be a little bit stable. But there is this strange peak here that brought us almost 2,000 mentions about Cybertruck. So how can we analyze this data? We can click on this peak. The platform is going to filter only mentions related to Cybertruck and this specific peak and this specific day. And we can use Insights Copilot to understand what are the potential crises for this day for Cybertruck. So look how we are segmenting the data again in this topic. Here in potential crisis, I can use one of the prompts that we have. You can make your own questions or use one of the prompts that we have, but I already have this question prepared for you. So here, the first analysis that Insights Copilot show me, it's about safety and design concerns. So in February 27, almost 10 days before this crisis pop up on the internet, people were already talking about this topic. And that's how we can use Insights Copilot to do this analysis. Guys, if you have any questions, you can let them in chats. Let me see if there are any questions here. Are the aspects predefined or can they be customized? Yes and no. The aspects on the platform are already predefined. We already have aspects predefined on the platform. So here in filters and aspects, we can check the aspects that we have already personalized, already done. But we can also can personalize our own aspects, creating tags. So basically, we can, for example, if we wanted to monitor, I don't know, when the brand is associated with sustainability. This is an aspect that YouScan may not have. How can I track all mentions related to Tesla and sustainability? So basically, I'm going to filter all mentions that are talking about this topic in the search by text, and I will create my tag. I won't focus too much on the technical part, just to show you that it's possible. So I can create tags related to sustainability when connecting to my brand Tesla, and I can have this personalized aspect in my analysis. So here in conversation in aspects, after I have this tag created, I can click here, add custom aspects, and then I can select my sustainability tag to monitor this as a custom aspect in my topic. Let me know if this answers your question or if you got confused with the information. Cool, great. So let's keep going. How we can get even deeper on this data? Well, I am analyzing the main conversations related to Cybertruck and the negative quality. Let's go to aspects and let's filter the negative quality for the last 30 days. And I understand what are the main conversations. I understand that people are talking about the panels falling down and the massive recall, but how can I go deeper? How can I understand what are the main keywords people are using to associate the negative quality with Cybertruck models? I can use the word cloud. With this tool here, in Conversation Insights, I can filter these words by sentiment. And I can see that the most common word associated with Cybertruck negative quality is piece. So there is a piece of this car falling down. And we can monitor this. We can understand where it's coming from. So rear panel, for example, recall it. That's how we can understand this data even deeper. Combining filters and searching for them on the platform, segmenting this data by tag. That's how we can do this. Here we have also the visual insights, which is a very interesting too. And now I can say that's my number one in YouScan platform. Because as you may know, YouScan not only detects logo and text on images, but we are also able to understand in which visual contexts your brand is being most mentioned. So I don't want only to understand when the logo of my brand. I can go here to filters and to logo recognition to filter what only mentions that are being selected by logo. I don't want to understand only when my brand is being mentioned in a photo or in a video. I want to understand in which contexts my brand is being most mentioned. So is it in outdoor or indoor places? There are more men or women talking about my brand. Okay, there are more women talking about my brand, but in a visual context, what type of person has more engagement when talking about my brand? So men must talk most about my brand in a visual context, but it's when I use a woman in a video that I have most interactions, most engagement in my posts. So I can analyze this type of data. I can understand in which context people are talking about my brand. So, for example, when men are mentioned with my brand in a visual context, I can understand what are the most popular contexts that has like a higher amount of engagement when talking about my brand. So I see that men are the most popular ones. When I use a man on a video, is when my videos about my brand they are higher engagement, and I can understand when these topics are connected. So, for example, how many men are doing outdoor content? How many men are smile when talking about my topic? How many men are recording videos about my brand along with women? I can zoom in this data and I can understand also when they are connected. So I can understand what are the main visual context my brand is being mentioned, the most popular context my visual context my brand is being mentioned, and when these topics are connected. That's the idea of monitoring visual insights. What else I can understand here? I can monitor when my brand's mentioned in a visual context, but people don't talk about my brand in the text of the post. So I can here take off all mentions talking about Tesla in the text of the post, and I can understand when my brand is mentioned on a photo, but not necessarily on the text of the post. Or when these mentions are negative, for example, negative mentions that mention my brand in a visual context, but don't mention the brand in the text of the post. So I can have all these mentions here. I can go to gallery to see it better. So for example, this mention is talking about Elumi. It's not our monitoring focus. It's not using the Tesla keyword, but still the logo of Tesla is being mentioned here. And it's a negative mention. So I can understand in which visual context my brand is being mentioned in a negative way without mentioning the brand name in the post text. That's the idea of the visual insights. And the audience section is really nice also because apart from understanding our craft, we also have to understand our audience. So who are the people talking about our brand in a negative way? Who are the people talking about Cybertruck, negative quality? They had, I don't know, the biggest amount of subscribers. The most popular people talking about the quality of Cybertrucks in a negative ways. So Jerry has been talking about this, and this post had a lot of engagement. Which what Jerry is talking about my brand in a negative way. I can click in show mentions. The platform is going to send me to another tab, and I can see this, for example. It's a negative mention that got super popular from a super popular guy on internet that's talking about the quality of Cybertrucks. And we can understand also not only who are this audience, who are the influencers, as I have shown here, who are the influencers talking about our brand, but also the demographic distribution, so the gender, the location, their interests. So people that are talking about Tesla, people that are talking about Cybertruck, What are you interested at? At cars, at technology, at Tesla, at music in general. So I can, again, segment this data to understand what are the main interests of people that are talking about Cybertruck on social media. I can understand your main occupations. So owners, content creators, CEO drivers, founders, artists. And all this information is based on the information on the user's profile. Okay, so if the user's profile put on this profile by that he is an owner or an investor, this information will be collected on the topic. Now coming back to my second favorite tool here in YouScan, which is Insights Copilot. I love this tool because we can not only use the prompts that we already have, but we can also make our own questions to this tool. So not only using the prompts, I make some questions to Insights Copilot, for example, to understand how does the public compare the cost-benefit ratio of the Cybertruck with other Tesla electric vehicles? So in general, it's most compared with Model 3 and Model Y when talking about prices, when talking about quality, for example. Here I'm asking what are the most mentioned technical issues or concerns about Cybertruck? So detachment of exterior panels. We can click here in examples and we can see what type of mentions are these. So it's not an information that Sites Copilot is inventing from its mind. You know, like sometimes you ask something to ChatGPT and ChatGPT creates your own answer based on an information that doesn't exist. That's not what Insights Copilot is doing. It's making analysis based on the posts, comments, and share posts that were collected in your topic about your brand. And this one was just a question that I made to Insights Copilot because I think that's a very nice, interesting point to understand crisis. What are the most viral memes or jokes in conversations about the Cybertruck? So here, for example, there are people talking that it's ugly, aesthetics. Some people saying that it's needing more Elmer's glue. That's a very interesting insight because how can Elmer's glue take advantage of this situation to promote their brand since they having more presence right now? Elmer's glue, for who doesn't know, it's a scholar glue in United States, and people are like making jokes about it, like Tesla should use more Elmer's glue so the panels don't fall down. What else do we have here? The Cybertruck's appearance is often compared to absurd or impractical designs, such as Fridge on Wheels. That's a funny one. Fridge on Wheels, it's a funny one. So this here, it's a video on TikTok, and people are mocking about the design of the Cybertruck. So you see, we cannot use only Sites Copilot with the prompts that we already have done, but we can also make our own questions to the tool. So that's the most interesting part of Insights Copilot, and this is what makes one of the most interesting tools in YouScan for me. And now let's go with the dashboards. So the reports, once we have all this data segmented in our topic, it's time for creating our reports. Here I have general metrics. So for example, the total mentions about Tesla in the last 30 days. Okay, that's super cool. But I wanted to understand how these mentions, these total mentions here are distributed. So I can segment this data in my dashboard here. And I have these total mentions per model. I can understand the volume of these mentions per model over time. I can understand the sentiment distribution, the total engagement per model. So which model people are talking the most? The distribution between sources, different periods. We can have this data also. The trends connected to our topic. And we can also even segmentate this data even more. So here you see that's a very interesting dashboard because here we are monitoring the general data, the general information. Then we come for the data segmented by models. And then we segment these metrics even more to a model in a specific. So here I'm not only monitoring all the models, I'm monitoring the car models that are most mentioned with Cybertruck, the main aspects of Cybertruck, the distribution of negative mentions of Cybertruck comparing to different periods. So I see this week, for example, the negative mentions are falling down. So the crisis is practically already over. And also I can add my Insights Copilot analysis here. So my most viral myths or jokes in conversations about the Cybertruck is also in my report. Let's see if there are any questions. No? No questions. So you are great. You already know everything about YouScan platform. You are professionals. Okay, cool. Well, that's it, guys.